The girl woke up before the sun, as she did every day. The room was small, with cracked walls and a thin mat on the floor. The air was cold in the early morning, and her stomach already felt empty. She sat up slowly, listening to the sounds outside. Vendors were setting up carts. Dogs were barking, and buses passed with loud engines. Life outside never waited for anyone. She washed her face with cold water and tied her worn scarf around her head. There was no mirror, but she did not need one. She already knew how tired she looked. Still, she took a deep breath and stood up. Another day meant another chance to earn something, even if it was very little. She stepped outside and locked the door carefully. The street was busy, but no one really noticed her. She blended into the crowd like a shadow. She cleaned small shops, carried items for people at the market, and sometimes helped older women with heavy bags. Most days, she earned just enough for a piece of bread and some tea. Some days, she earned nothing at all. Despite everything, she rarely complained. Hard life had taught her to stay quiet and keep moving. She had learned long ago that tears did not change much. What mattered was getting through the day. By late afternoon, her legs ached and her hands were rough from work. She counted the few coins she had earned. It was not much, but it could buy a small meal. She felt a bit of relief. At least she would not sleep hungry tonight. As she walked home, the sky slowly changed color. The sun was going down, painting the clouds with soft orange light. People rushed past her, eager to reach their homes. The road near the old bus stop was less crowded now. That was when she noticed something unusual. A small boy was sitting alone on a bench near the bus stop. His feet did not touch the ground, and his shoulders were hunched forward. He looked around again and again, as if waiting for someone who never came. His clothes were clean but wrinkled, and his face showed fear and confusion. At first, the girl kept walking. Lost children were not rare, and she had learned to mind her own business. Getting involved could bring trouble. She told herself that someone else would help, but after a few steps, she stopped. She turned back and looked at the boy again. He was rubbing his eyes, trying not to cry. People walked past him without slowing down. A bus passed and another, but no one came for him. Something tightened in her chest. She remembered being young and alone once, standing in a crowd where no one looked at her twice. That memory never really left her. It lived quietly inside her, waiting for moments like this. She walked toward the boy slowly so as not to scare him. She stopped a short distance away and bent down slightly. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. The boy looked up quickly. His eyes were wide and shiny. He did not answer at first. He just stared at her, as if trying to decide whether she was safe. "Where is your family?" she asked, keeping her voice calm. The boy shook his head. His lips trembled. "I don't know," he said quietly. Her heart sank. She asked him a few more gentle questions. Did he know his home? Did he have a phone number? Could he remember how he got there? Each time, the boy shook his head. He was tired, hungry, and scared. That much was clear. The girl looked around. The bus stop was almost empty now. The streetlights flickered on one by one. Evening was turning into night. She stood there, unsure what to do. Helping him meant staying longer, spending time, and maybe money. Money she barely had. She opened her hand and looked at the coins resting in her palm. This was all she had for the night. If she spent it, she would go to bed hungry. For a brief moment, fear spoke louder than kindness. Then the boy's stomach growled loudly. He looked embarrassed and lowered his head. That sound made the choice for her. "Come," she said gently. "Let's get you something to eat." His eyes lifted, surprised. "Really?" She nodded, even though her chest felt tight. They walked to a small food stall nearby. The smell of warm food filled the air. The girl ordered a simple meal and placed all her coins on the counter. The seller looked at her, then at the boy, and said nothing. The boy ate slowly at first, then faster. With every bite, his shoulders relaxed. Color returned to his face. The girl sat beside him, pretending she was not hungry. She told herself that hunger would pass, but regret would not. When the boy finished eating, he finally smiled. It was a small smile, but it felt bright. "Thank you," he said. She nodded, unsure what to say. As they sat there, the night grew deeper. The girl knew this was only the beginning of something she did not yet understand. She did not know who the boy's father was. She did not know how serious the situation would become. All she knew was that she could not walk away. And that simple choice was about to change everything. The boy finished his meal quickly and looked around, still unsure what to do next. He held the girl's hand tightly, as if afraid she might disappear. She smiled gently, trying to show him that everything would be okay. At least for now. The street had grown quiet. The vendors had packed up, and the city lights glowed softly in the distance. The girl knew she had to decide what to do next. She could not just leave him on the street, and she did not know where he lived. She did not even know how far from home he had wandered. Her stomach was empty, and her body ached from hours of walking and work. But she pushed those thoughts aside. First, the boy needed her. "Do you remember your parents' names?" she asked as they walked slowly along the sidewalk. He shook his head again. "No, I don't know. I can't remember anything," he whispered. She kept walking. It was dark now, and the streetlights flickered as if they were unsure whether to stay on. She wanted to find someone who could help, but she was careful. Some people would not be kind, and some could make the situation worse. They stopped near a small park. The boy wanted to sit, but she encouraged him to keep moving. She needed to find a safe place where someone could take him in until his family was found. She thought of the local police station, but it felt too intimidating for the boy. He might panic. The girl decided to try one more place first, a community center she sometimes helped at. She knew the people there would care. She led the boy through quiet streets, holding his small hand tightly. Her own hands were rough and tired, but she did not let go. The boy's steps were slow. He looked around constantly, as if expecting someone to appear and call him back. The girl stayed patient, speaking in soft words to keep him calm. "Almost there. Just a little more," she said. Finally, they reached the community center. The lights inside were warm, and a few people were cleaning up after the day's work. When they saw the boy, their expressions changed. Concern and surprise filled their faces. One of the staff approached them carefully. "Is he lost?" she asked. The girl nodded. "I found him alone near the bus stop. He doesn't know where he lives or who his family is." The staff member knelt down, speaking gently to the boy. She asked his name, but he could not remember. She offered him water and a place to sit. The boy relaxed slightly, holding onto the girl's hand for support. The girl watched quietly. She felt a mixture of relief and worry. Relief because he was safe for the moment, and worry because she had no idea what would happen next. She had given her last money for food, and now she had nothing else to offer. But she also realized that sometimes kindness did not need money. It needed patience and courage. The staff member thanked the girl for bringing the boy in. "You did the right thing," she said. "He would have been alone and scared if you hadn't come." The girl nodded, but she could not shake the thought of her own hunger and exhaustion. She wanted to go home, yet she stayed a little longer, making sure the boy felt safe. She asked the staff if he would be taken care of until his family was found, and they promised he would. While the boy rested, the girl sat outside the center, on the small steps. She looked at the dark sky and thought about her own life. It had never been easy. Her family had struggled for years, and she had learned to survive with very little. But she also knew that kindness, even small acts, could change lives. She remembered the coins in her pocket and the bread she had left uneaten. She realized that even though she had very little, she could still give something meaningful. Sometimes it was not money that mattered most, but the choice to act when someone needed help. Hours passed. The boy slept quietly inside, and the staff took turns checking on him. The girl could hear soft voices, assuring him that everything would be all right. She felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that she had done something important. But she also felt a weight of uncertainty. Who was the boy's family? Why had he been alone? And what would happen when they finally came looking for him? She stood up, brushing dust from her clothes. The night air was cold, but she did not mind. She walked slowly back toward her small home, feeling tired but calm. Something inside her had shifted. She had faced fear, hunger, and exhaustion, yet she had acted with courage and compassion. As she reached her street, she saw a few neighbors still awake, tending to small tasks or chatting quietly. No one noticed her, and she liked it that way. She slipped inside her home, closing the door gently behind her. The room was dark and quiet, but it felt safe. She sat on her thin mat and thought about the boy. She had no idea who his father was or how wealthy or powerful his family might be. For her, he was just a small child who needed help, and she had given him her last money to make sure he ate. That simple choice had felt heavy at first, but now it felt right. She could feel her own hunger, but it was a small price to pay. She wrapped herself in a thin blanket and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would bring new work, new challenges, and perhaps new struggles. But tonight, she had done something good. She had chosen kindness over fear, courage over comfort, and somewhere, the boy slept peacefully, held by the safety she had provided, unaware of the sacrifice she had made. She did not need recognition or reward. She only needed to know that he was safe. The girl fell asleep slowly, thinking about how small acts could create ripples in life. She could not imagine what the future held, but she felt a quiet hope that the world could be better when people chose to care. The night outside was still and silent, but inside her heart, something bright had begun to grow. The next morning, the girl woke up to the sound of birds chirping and the faint noise of people moving in the streets. Her body was sore from the previous day, and her stomach ached from not having much to eat, but her mind was restless with thoughts about the boy. She wanted to know if he was safe, if someone had found his family, or if he was still confused and alone. She quickly got dressed and stepped outside. The morning air was chilly, and the streets were busy with the daily rush of people heading to work and school. She walked slowly toward the community center, her mind heavy with worry. Even though she had done what she thought was right, she could not stop thinking about the boy and whether he was truly safe. When she arrived at the center, she saw the boy sitting on a bench outside, looking around with curiosity. His small face lit up when he saw her, and he ran toward her, holding her hand tightly. She smiled at him, relieved to see that he was unharmed and awake. "Did you sleep well?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Yes, I was warm." "Thank you," he said, his voice small but steady. The girl crouched down to his level. "You're welcome. Are you ready to have some breakfast?" she asked. He nodded again, and together they went inside the center. The staff had prepared a simple breakfast of bread, eggs, and tea. The boy ate slowly, careful to savor each bite, while the girl watched him. She realized that even though she had little, providing comfort and care was sometimes more valuable than money or material things. As they finished eating, a staff member approached the girl and spoke quietly. "The police are coming soon. They are trying to find out where he belongs. You did the right thing by bringing him here." The girl nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. She wanted to stay with the boy, but she also knew that the authorities would take over the search. She was not sure what would happen next. She spent the morning talking to the boy, keeping him calm and distracted. They played small games, told stories, and laughed quietly. She realized that sometimes being present and giving attention was as important as anything else. The boy's fear began to fade, replaced by curiosity and a sense of safety. Later, a car arrived in front of the center. 2 men in uniform stepped out and spoke to the staff. The girl watched from a distance as they approached the boy. He looked nervous, but he did not pull away from her hand. One of the men knelt down and spoke gently to him. "Are you lost, little one? Do you know where your home is?" The boy shook his head. "No," he whispered. The officers exchanged glances. The girl stepped forward and explained how she had found the boy and brought him to the center. She told him about the coin she had spent on his food and how she had stayed with him to make sure he was safe. The officers listened carefully. One of them nodded. "Thank you for helping. We will take it from here now," he said. The girl felt a pang of sadness. She wanted to stay with the boy, but she knew this was beyond her control. She trusted that the authorities would do their job and keep him safe. As the officers prepared to leave with the boy, he clung to her hand one last time. "Will you come with me?" he asked quietly. She knelt down and hugged him gently. "I can't, little one, but I promise you will be safe. People will take care of you. she said. The boy hesitated for a moment, then let go of her hand and walked with the officers. The girl watched them leave, feeling a mixture of relief, worry, and hope. She did not know who the boy's family was or what challenges he had faced before this moment, but she knew that her choice to help had made a difference in his life. After they left, the girl walked slowly back home. The streets were quieter now, and the morning rush had settled. She thought about the boy and what might happen next. She wondered if he would remember her, or if this moment would fade into his memory. At home, she sat on her thin mat and rested. Her stomach was empty, and her hands were sore, but she felt a sense of fulfillment. She had acted with courage and kindness, even when it cost her. That feeling was stronger than any hunger or pain. She remembered the coins she had spent and the bread she had given up. For a moment, she felt a flicker of doubt. Was it worth it? But then she thought about the boy's small smile, the way he had held her hand, and the relief in his eyes. She knew without a doubt that she had done the right thing. Throughout the day, she kept thinking about the boy. Who were his parents? Why had he been alone? How long had he been lost? The questions filled her mind, but she could not find the answers. All she could do was hope that he would be reunited with his family soon. Evening came, and the girl prepared a small meal for herself. She ate slowly, savoring each bite, and thought about the events of the day. She realized that life was unpredictable and sometimes harsh, but moments of compassion and courage could change everything. Helping the boy had reminded her that even small acts of kindness mattered. As she finished her meal, she looked out the window at the darkening sky. She could not see the boy, but she could imagine him somewhere safe, perhaps with people who cared and loved him. That thought brought her comfort. She laid down on her thin mat, feeling the ache in her body but also a warmth in her heart. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight she had done something extraordinary. She had chosen to care when many others would have passed by. She had chosen to act when fear and exhaustion could have held her back. And somewhere, the boy slept safely, unaware of the full weight of the sacrifice the girl had made. Her kindness had created a small light in a world that could often be dark, and that light, she hoped, would guide him back to where he belonged. The next day, the girl could not stop thinking about the boy. She had returned to her small routines, cleaning and helping others where she could, but her thoughts kept drifting to him. She wondered where he was and if he had found safety. She also wondered who his parents were and how he had ended up alone on that street. Meanwhile, the boy had been taken to a local police station for further care. Officers were asking questions, trying to find any clues about his family. The boy answered as best he could, but his memory was foggy. He remembered fragments of faces and places, but nothing clear enough to identify his home. The authorities started contacting people and looking at missing child reports. It became clear that the boy belonged to a wealthy family, someone important who had been desperately searching for him. The girl heard some of the news from people in her neighborhood. Whispers traveled quickly in small towns. She learned that the boy's father was a respected man in the community. The thought surprised her. She had never imagined that someone so powerful would have a child wandering alone, hungry and scared. She wondered how different his life was from hers, and whether that would change how he was treated. Curiosity mixed with concern. She wanted to know if he would be okay, but she felt powerless. Still, she hoped her small act of kindness had made a difference. By afternoon, she walked toward the police station quietly. She did not want to intrude, but she wanted to see the boy from a distance. When she arrived, she saw the boy waiting in a small room, calm now, but still unsure. His eyes lit up when he saw her standing at the doorway. He ran toward her slowly, and she kneeled down to his level. "You came," he said softly. "I had to see you," she replied, smiling gently. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. They are helping me," he said. "But I missed you." Her heart swelled. She realized how strong the connection had grown in such a short time. The boy had trusted her completely, and that trust was not something that could be ignored. She knew that even after he left, the memory of her kindness would stay with him. Just then, a man entered the room. His presence was commanding, but there was a soft tension in his eyes. He walked toward the boy carefully, and the boy ran into his arms. The girl stepped back, observing the reunion quietly. The man held the boy tightly, relief washing over his face. It was clear that he had been worried beyond measure. The man noticed the girl standing there. He studied her for a moment, trying to understand who she was. Then he looked at the boy, who pointed toward her. "She helped me. She gave me food," he said proudly. The father's expression changed. He looked at the girl with deep gratitude, mixed with surprise. He could not believe that someone so poor and unnoticed had risked her own safety to protect his child. "Thank you," he said, his voice low and steady. "You have done something very brave. You saved him." The girl shook her head. "I just did what I thought was right. I couldn't leave him alone," she said softly. The father smiled, though it was a mixture of awe and respect. He realized that while he had power, wealth, and influence, it was the girl's courage and heart that had truly protected his child. No amount of money or status could replace the act of kindness she had shown. He asked the girl to sit and speak with him privately. She agreed, curious and cautious. They sat in a quiet corner of the room, away from the boy. The father asked her about her life, her family, and why she had helped the boy. She told him simply about her daily struggles, her small jobs, and how she had nothing much to offer. Yet she emphasized that she had given what little she had because the boy needed it more than she did. He listened carefully, nodding slowly. "Your heart is stronger than many people's. You showed courage when it would have been easy to ignore him. That is something rare," he said. The girl felt a mix of pride and shyness. She had never been praised like this before. Her life had always been about surviving, not seeking recognition. Yet the father's words made her feel seen in a way that no one had before. The boy watched from a distance, smiling. He felt proud that the girl who had helped him was being appreciated. He ran to her side and held her hand. The father looked at the two of them, realizing that this bond was special. It was not about wealth or power. It was about human connection and the choice to care. He decided to ensure that the girl's life would improve. He wanted her to have opportunities she had never had before. But he also respected her independence and wanted any help to come with dignity, not pity. The girl listened carefully as he spoke, realizing that her life might soon change in ways she had never imagined. That evening, the girl returned home with a quiet sense of hope. Her small room felt warmer than usual. She thought about the boy, his safety, and the father's gratitude. Her heart felt light, as if the weight of worry had lifted. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where kindness and courage could open doors she had never dreamed of. She went to bed that night, feeling tired but content. She had faced fear, hunger, and uncertainty, yet she had acted with compassion. That choice had brought her closer to something greater than herself. The understanding that even the smallest acts could have far-reaching effects. Somewhere, the boy slept safely, wrapped in the comfort of his father's arms. The girl's courage had created a bridge between their worlds. And although she did not know it fully, the events of that day would change not only the boy's life, but her own. The kindness she had offered freely had come back to her in a way that no one could have predicted, showing that acts of the heart were more powerful than any treasure. The days after the boy was reunited with his father were filled with a mixture of excitement and adjustment. The girl returned to her life, still working small jobs and facing daily struggles, but now carrying a quiet hope in her heart. She had seen how a single act of kindness could ripple outward, affecting people she would never have imagined. One morning, there was a knock at her door. She opened it to find a car parked outside, and a familiar man standing there with a kind smile. Her heart skipped a beat. She had not expected him to come. The man introduced himself again, the boy's father, and asked if she could come with him for a short visit. Curious and cautious, she agreed. She walked with him to the car and climbed inside. The ride was short, but during it, he spoke gently, asking about her life, her routines, and her family. She told him about her small home, her work, and her dreams, which were often simple. Enough food, a safe place to sleep, and small comforts she rarely enjoyed. When they arrived at his home, the girl was struck by its size and beauty, but she did not feel intimidated. She had faced challenges far greater than being in a rich person's house. She entered quietly, unsure of what was expected of her. The boy ran ahead to greet her. He threw his small arms around her, and she hugged him back warmly. "I missed you," he said. "I missed you, too," she replied, her voice soft but filled with emotion. The father watched silently for a moment, seeing the bond between the girl and his child. He realized that this girl, despite having so little, had given his son the greatest gift: safety, care, and kindness. She had protected him when no one else had, and that act could not be measured in money. He invited the girl to sit down, offering her tea and bread. She hesitated for a moment, then accepted. It was the first time in her life that someone had provided her with comfort so freely, without judgment or expectation. She felt a strange mix of gratitude and disbelief. As they sat together, the father began to explain that he wanted to help her, not with charity, not with pity, but with opportunity. He had resources that could change her life in ways she had only dreamed of. He spoke of education, training, and safe work that could provide her with stability. He emphasized that she would not be a guest or dependent, but someone whose life could grow with dignity and respect. The girl listened carefully. For a moment, she wondered if this was real or just a story. She had been let down before, trusted situations that had promised help, only to be disappointed. But she looked in the father's eyes and saw honesty, concern, and respect. She realized that this was genuine. The boy watched them, quietly happy. He held the girl's hand, knowing that her presence had brought him safety and warmth. He wanted her to understand how much he appreciated her. He looked at his father, who nodded gently, affirming the importance of the girl's role in his life. Over the next few weeks, the girl's life began to change in small but meaningful ways. She received books, training, and opportunities to improve her skills. She could now earn more, have better meals, and rest without fear. Each step felt like a gift, but also a responsibility. She wanted to honor the boy and his father by using these opportunities wisely. Despite the changes, she remained humble and kind. She never forgot the streets, the people she had seen struggle, and the small acts of courage that had defined her own life. She continued to care for others quietly, helping neighbors and friends when she could. She had learned that kindness was not about recognition, but about the choice to act. The boy's father became a mentor and guide, not just a benefactor. He taught her how to make decisions, how to manage responsibilities, and how to face challenges with courage. She absorbed every lesson, eager to grow but never forgetting where she had come from. The boy and the girl remained close. They played, laughed, and shared stories, their bond stronger than ever. He called her his hero, and she smiled, realizing that even small acts of love and courage could leave a lasting impact. One day, as she walked through the neighborhood, she saw a child struggling to carry a heavy load. Her heart ached at the sight. Without hesitation, she ran over to help. It was a simple act, but she remembered how it felt when someone had given her a hand in times of need. She smiled quietly, knowing that the cycle of kindness would continue. As evening fell, she sat quietly by her window, looking at the fading sunlight. She thought about her journey, from a girl with barely enough to survive, to someone whose courage had touched a child's life and reached even further. She realized that life had a strange way of rewarding those who gave selflessly. Her heart felt full, not because of money or comfort, but because she had chosen to care. She closed her eyes and whispered a small prayer of thanks for the boy, his father, and the people who believed in her. She knew that challenges would still come, but she also knew that she had the strength, courage, and kindness to face them. Somewhere nearby, the boy slept peacefully, his life safe and warm, and in the girl's small room, the glow of hope shone brightly. She had learned that true kindness was never wasted, that courage in small moments could change the world, and that even the most ordinary life could create extraordinary ripples of love and compassion. The story ends with a girl standing quietly, ready for whatever life would bring next. She had given her last money to a lost boy, not knowing who his father was, and in return, she had received far more than she could ever have imagined. The knowledge that one brave and selfless act could change many lives forever.